or rather what he's planning, is to naturally inherit Baba's base, because within ODM, there's clearly no natural successor. You know, like if something happened to Baba today, who is Baba's successor in ODM? So that's what Ruto wants. And then he wants to inherit that base because Baba's base is a very durable base. Now, after that's done, they go remix the constitution. A term becomes 7 years. A president can run for 3 terms. So now Kasongo comes back in 2032, Mbaka 2037. No, is it 20? No, it's
2039.
No, 2032 Mbaka 2039, and then 2039 Mbaka 2047. Some of you will be in retirement homes in 2047.
This younger guy,
Salasia.
To me,
Salasia.
Yes, I think
Western mtu anawasumbua ni mmoja. Western mtu anawasumbua ni mmoja, Natembea. Right?
Okay.
Na ukiangalia ile yenye Natembea na kuja nayo, and then you see kina Salasia na wote, all of them are aiming to him. Au ndo wanaenda kubak naye. Like basically, they come back. Kazi bure wameisha nguvu.
Yes.
Natembea amenyang'anya nani Wabukusu. Naitwaje ujamaa huu Weta, amenyang'anya Weta Wabukusu. Yeah. So amenyang'anya Weta Wabukusu. Kina Salasi na kina Boni wanakuja nao wengine wenye wamebaki. Ukiangalia huko kwingine Busia, like if you look at Busia, he's losing the grip also there. Like I'm lose grip yoko the stronghold yake, and lose grip, like basically ana lose grip from Kakamega, Busia, alafu na kina Wanga kwa Wateso, and then come to add up, wanakuja wa gang up na Natembea, like watu wa Young watagang up wote wa Western and they'll become one, because you know moja wao usema tunakujanga separated as blocks ndo wanatuenjoy.
Yes.
Watu wakigang up hivi wote pamoja wanajua strengths zenye nazo wako nayo. Alafu alafu hiyo ni Western, right?
Yes.
Ikiingia Nyanza kwa Kisii na Wakuria,
kwa Wakisii
Matiang'i amemnyang'anya.
So this is my theory. And again, this is a theory. It's not a fact. Kwa hivyo msianze kuja hapa uniulize ati where did you find that information? Hii theory is, yes, it's a Vladimir Putin theory. Because Ruto understands that he's very unpopular and he's very likely to lose if he participates in the next election, he could take a time out, give it to Baba, let Baba run, Baba amweke ile position Mudavadi yuko sasa, but now in a more powerful capacity, like as a prime minister, not as a prime cabinet secretary.
Amweke PM.
Yes, amweke PM, you know, wafanye remix ya, and there's someone mwenye kuna sound hapo, I don't know who's yeah, Omosh punguza sauti hapo. Yeah, ama Omosh mute side yako. Yeah.
Na mute.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying, so the theory is
endelea.
Okay. Okay, imenini sasa. Imepotea sasa. So the theory basically is that Ruto wants to give way to Baba because he's probably calculating that Baba doesn't have that many years left. And the goal with him taking that breather or break is because he's unpopular. He might lose the election. And then by giving Baba this term that comes up, Baba's base will never forget him. And he will naturally, or rather what he's planning is to naturally inherit Baba's base, because within ODM, there's clearly no natural successor. You know, like if something happened to Baba today, who is Baba's successor in ODM? So that's what Ruto wants. And then he wants to inherit that base because Baba's base is a very durable base. Now, after that's done, they go remix the constitution. A term becomes 7 years. A president can run for 3 terms. So now Kasongo comes back in 2032, mpaka 2037. No, is it 20? No, it's
2039.
No, 2032 mpaka 2039, and then 2039 mpaka 2047. Some of you will be in retirement homes in 2047. Akwe dictator of East Africa. I think that is what Putin did in Russia, and that's how he became a president for life. He was president, finished his 2 terms, took a break, akampatia huyu Medvedev, yeye akakuwa prime minister, and then they went and remixed the constitution, and then now he's back, president for life. That is my theory. So Mosh, back to you.
Sasa Ruto atakuwa for life. Ama atakuwa tu na mbili zingine extra.
Hiyo ni life. Think about it. 2046. Do you know how far 2046 is from now?
It's 20 years.
Yeah. That
21 years.
Will be some of Omosh will be like 96.
Hapana, Raila atafanya tu term moja, hata atamaliza.
Because I think
Donasema it's even worse kama asipomaliza term moja, because if he goes, let's say, like half a term, then whoever is deputizing him is the one who's going to become president, and by this time Ruto has already inherited Baba's base.
Yeah, but how strong will that base be? Because wacha tuangalie
how strong is Baba's base?
How strong is Baba's base?
No,
because
it's not as strong. Because it's not as strong as it used to be.
Because once alivuka sakafu.
Yeah.
Because unajua, sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Kusema unajua base. Unajua stronghold ya Baba, watu wengi wasimengi stronghold ya Baba uko ni Nyanza alone. Baba kuja nayo stronghold Nyanza kishikana na Western. Na kuna vile Western ana lose hiyo grip. Na hiyo ndo stronghold yake actually main.
I'll differ with you, Mika, but go ahead.
No, yeah, you can differ with me, but tuseme tu kweli Nyanza kuna Wakisii who actually just as equally as many as you na Wakuria.
Okay, but are you counting Wakisii as Western or Nyanza?
No, si count Wakisii as Western.
Or you're counting them as part of the base?
No. Me nikikwambia Western, like Western province kwa Waluya, right?
Correct.
Pali Baba, the only part yenye Baba ana control ni Wabukusu pekee. Na wale wadogo. Na ukiangalia wale wa Maragoli, wale wa Mudavadi, wale watu wa Mudavadi uko wadogo hivi.
Yes.
But as long as akona Wakisa, Wakisa, Wanyore, wa Marachi, wa Isuha, wa Idaho, wa Wanga, wa nini, like ana control a major part of Western, Wateso.
Yes, Mumias, all the way down that area coming up.
Yeah, baka Busia, Malaba, ana control a major part of Western. And when he has that support, that's when he's strong.
Correct.
Yeah, and Donasema, his base, it might not be as strong as it was before the Gen Z revolution, but he still has a base.
But that theory is...
He still has a base, because remember, Ruto Pia, akona, like he has his base of sorts. He's created a base in Northeastern, and now we don't know, like how once registration numbers imetoka, that's when what watajua mbivu na mbichi iko wapi. But Omosh was disagreeing with Mika's theory. Maybe Omosh explain your disagreement.
No, my only disagreement with Mika was the reach of Baba. Yes, I think his reach has definitely come down. But if you're talking about Luo Nyanza, without a doubt, it's not shaken. There are those doubters. It's still there. Hapa kwa Western, yes, hapa kwa Western, I think is divided in 3 now, and it's very distinct. Kuna watu wa Baba, and then kuna watu wa the nini. This younger guy who
Salasia.
To me.
Salasia.
Yes, I think yes.
Western mtu anawasumbua ni mmoja. Western mtu anawasumbua ni mmoja, Natambea. Right?
Okay.
Na ukiangalia ile yenye Natambea kuja nayo, and then you see kina Salasia na wote, all of them are aiming to him. Au ndo anaenda kubak naye. Like basically, they come back. Kazi bure wameisha nguvu. Because
yes.
Natembea amenyang'anya nani Wabukusu. anaitwaje jamaa huu Weta wa Bukusu. So amenyang'anya Bukusu. Kina Salasi na kina Boni wanakuja nao wengine wenye wamebaki. Ukiangalia huko kwingine Busia like if you look at Busia, he's losing the grip also there. Like I'm lose grip yuko the stronghold yake and lose grip, like basically ana lose grip from Kakamega, Busia, alafu na kina Wanga kwa Wateso, and then come to add up, wanakuja wa gang up na natambea like watu wa Yangu watagang up wote wa Western and they'll become one, because you know kitu moja wao usema tunakujanga separated as blocks ndo wanatuenjoy. Yes. But wakigang up hivi wote pamoja wakamwenye wanajua strengths zenye nazo wako nayo. Alafu alafu hiyo ni Western, right?
Yes.
Ukiingia Nyanza kwa Kisii na Wakuria,
kwa Wakisii
Matiang'i amemnyang'anya.
Kwa Wakisii
Matiang'i amemnyang'anya watu.
Very bad.
So
now I don't know about Matiang'i so much.
Ngoja. No, Wakisii ni Matiang'i wote. Maraga hakuna kitu anaenda kuona. Uko ni Matiang'i.
I don't think so either way, but
ngoja. No, hiyo ni Matiang'i. Tukuje Nairobi. Yes. Ile nguvu anakuangalia Nairobi pia ina reduce.
Yes, ina reduce, yes, because people are
kuna frustration. Ana nguvu alikuwa nayo Nairobi. Cost as much as tunajaribu kuongea sijui nini. Joho pia hajashikilia post vile nafikiria ameishikilia. So stronghold zake zinatingizwa.
Yes.
Stronghold zake zinatingizwa.
I agree about the mtiririko, or should I say kutingizwa. That part I understand and I agree with it. But I still think that if let's say we are to go with Ali's theory, okay, there is something in that where a combination of what Raila has as cash in hand and what Ruto has as cash in hand, when combined with this northeastern element,
this will be their poisonous chalice.
Ngoja Mika, ngoja tusikie theory ya Omosh.
So if it's with this element now of kusema tunaleta wa Somali, blah blah blah, whichever way they want to look at it, that's supposed to be according to these our political strengths and things that have happened in the past. Then they're trying to basically neutralize the central province block, which is all numbers oriented, right? So if you can go and find these votes from other places, then now you need. Now, something Mika said, which can throw all of these things off.
Bundles imeisha.
Amuniski?
No, endelea. Ulikuwa umefreeze.
Okay, something that may throw off the theory that I was talking about was that cost is the one that, to me, that is the one that is going to be the X factor. Whoever has cost is going to win, in my opinion.
But then, okay. So let me tell you why this is going to be their poisonous chalice, right? The thing is, for now, Baba saved Ruto, right? And
correct.
everything that made people go to the streets is still going on, and he's supporting it to an extent where he has said Ruto's policies were the same as his, so ni sawa tu vile Ruto anaendelea. So regardless of between the two, who's running, kuna ile chuki na resentment watu wako nayo. So if these people wa Munyoro ashikane na kina Matiang'i, kina Maraga, waende washikane na watu wa Western huko, right? There's some elements in Rift Valley kwa Ruto kwenyewe pali watu wana shida na yeye. Washikane nao.
The other Ruto.
Washikane na Ukambani kina Kalonzo. And then washikane na watu wa Coast. They have the numbers to beat those two people.
Now, your theory,
the resentment that the people have for this handshake. If all these other jokers can come up with one candidate, they are beating whoever those two people feel.
Now,
they'll beat Baba, they'll beat Ruto.
Your theory, Mika, is premised on these other groups coming up with one candidate.
Working together.
Yes. And I feel, like right now, theoretically, it looks possible, but I think the practicality of it is a no-no. I don't think it's going to work. And here is why. You have Kalonzo Musyoka, who has to run. Come rain, come shine. It doesn't matter.
Spoiler.
Yes. Wamunyoro himself, I know he's supposed to be banned for life, but kuna vitu anafanya. If he's allowed to run again, I think Wamunyoro is going to run.
He was going to run.
He's going to run, Ali, because remember, his staff is still up or sitting in the limbo. They have to come up with a judgment.
And then remember, there's others like Matiang'i, who's experiencing popularity in Kisii. I think he's also going to run. So there's no, even if one of them bulks, at least two of them will run. Okiya Omtata is also going to run, and we don't know if the Gen Z might decide to hug that Omtata ticket. So with all this happening, what it means is that most likely elections 2027 we're gonna experience our first runoff. And now when we experience a runoff is when we're gonna see high stakes politics, because in a runoff, now you have to work with someone, whether mulikuwa mmechukiana, whether ilikuwa sijui ni Gen Z riots, because if let's say it is on one side, it's broad-based, and then the other side, they have to choose who to work with for the runoff. I don't think you'll pick Wamunyoro, but he might pick the person.
To assume for the sake of the conversation.
Yes. Let's say I pick, let's say Matiang'i runs independently, and then he picks Matiang'i. So now Matiang'i has to come back and support Ruto in the runoff on the promise that atapatiwa prime cabinet secretary, atapatiwa maybe a speaker seat or something of that sort. So I think that's the most likely scenario in 2027. What I would love to see is if the two main groups, broad-based and Wamunyoro, if they're number one, number two, if they're going on a runoff, because they will be going against each other on a runoff. If they're going against each other on a runoff, then now people will have to divide. Maybe huyu moja atamshika Matiang'i, mwingine amshike, let's say miraculously, Omtata is also getting a lot of support, which there is a likelihood that he might get support with Gen Z. Let's say Omtata achukuliwe na group ya kina na broad-based group. And let's say maybe Raila is the one who's running kwa hiyo broad-based, Ruto ni prime minister, and then now Omtata anaingia pale ndani as now he becomes a prefect from the inside. That is a likely scenario of what might happen in 2027. The other theory is that Baba will bolt out from Ruto. I'm seeing that as a very unlikely scenario with the way things are going, the way things are marinating, the way people are making money. I see that.
Biashara imeshika zaidi.
Yeah. Biashara imeshika.
Because imeshika hawezi kosana hata kidogo.
Yes, within 1 year, by August of 2026, World Cup ikishaisha next year, hapo ndo tunajua pali siasa ya Kenya inaelekea. Because World Cup itadistract wa Kenya. They will not be focusing on politics. Itakuwa ball the whole month. Yeah.
Hapa kuna comments mob. GCU Godi. Sisi ulionazalimiwa. I may have mentioned that name badly. GCU Godi.
Wapi Facebook ama?
Facebook.
Yeah, okay.
Yakobo Sima anasema Omondi should say these are all recent developments, and you're talking about motorized water vessels on Lake Victoria, most installed in the second UK term, and now KK Rain. Mkenya Mashinani anauliza, how is Baba popular? I think that one has, well, I guess it has been broken down. Popularity is there, but it's waning. Kenya continues to say, after Gen Z protest, Baba lost a big grip. Yakobo says, Natembea, Matiang'i, and MOU have reduced Rao's hold. Salasia is not a strong force yet. And Adhiamba Odak says, Mika, I don't think it's resentment. It is intense anger.
And the only way we're going to start knowing the direction for 27 is when we have a by-election. So, Nona, one of the reasons why Kina Ruto have been happy for IBC not to be there is because there's been no by-election, because by-elections are usually a test. It's kind of like an opinion poll of where people's minds are. And there's been no by-elections. There's still a lot of trouble in putting together IEBC.
Because there's some places that don't even have any political leader. There's certain
They don't
regions,
have MPs, yeah.
They don't have MPs.
They don't have...
and even
this is so unprecedented.
And even the constitution, the current, even the persons and people who have been selected, nominated, chosen, however, whichever word you want to use, it's still, what do you call it? It's like they have been chosen.
Yeah.
The process has chosen them for them now to deliver.
Yeah.
And that's why it has taken so long. So there's a lot, like you say, there's a lot that is so much in limbo. And that is why I think the anger is so intense that anyone or any affiliation with one term automatically, like Mika said, becomes you. Ni kama ukiguza hiyo kitu.
Yeah.
Unakuwa you're rendered.
You become
there.
dust.
You become.
I think that was a very big mistake for Baba. He was on his way to being, like a great statesman, one of the best leaders, like Kenya. But he touching Ruto, unfortunately.
Did you guys see there's a time, I think, this is recent, I think last week, Sifuna with Akinau Chariot, the way they're going back and forth. There's a video of how, I think, walikuwa ameenda, is it Migori? I think it was Migori. And, ODM and Stronghold and KK government or whatever. Ideally, Sifuna is just saying, broad-based government, it's more or less denying them, saying they're not working together. I mean, they are together, but they're not working together. And ini hadharani.
Yeah.
So even, I'm sure within even those circles, and also even with Baba's, sometimes, utterances, not utterances, some things that he says, what Ruto is doing is just wrong. Some of these things are not right. Lakini, bado yuko huko ndani.
Yeah.
But like Mika said, ile pesa natengenezwa.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're making a lot of money at people's expense. And politics is one of those places where in Kenya you become rich overnight.
Now, Mato Da Foster over here says, FYI, Rigiji won't run in 2027 and there won't be a serious presidential candidate from Mount Kenya. There better not be, in my opinion. Apart from sponsored candidates, take that to the PNC Bank.
Well,
Akuna strong. Right now, Mountain, there's no one.
But one X factor people are minimizing, and I think people need to watch carefully, is the Somali vote. And why do I say that? Mm-hmm. The Somalis have always been undercounted. They've always been very underrepresented, even when it comes to the voter register. Mm-hmm. But anecdotally, even over the last, and we're not talking about, because I know a lot of times people like to spin this and they will start saying that, how si wa Kenya. No, they are Kenyans. And they're not the only Kenyans it's not the only community, it's not the only Kenyan community that's cross-border. They're Kenyans. And we know for sure that it is one of those few communities where our age mates still have 5-6 kids, and it's a normal thing. Yeah. People in their 40s, 5-6 kids.
Yeah.
And it's very normal. We know that most of these other, I'll call them mainstream communities, Luos, Kikuyus, Luyas, Kambas, we know people in their 40s are not getting 6 kids.
2. 1.
Yeah. In fact, hata ikifika 3, hiyo hapo umeenda mbali sana.
You're pushing the envelope.
So we know that hao watu wamekuwa ni wengi. You
Unless
know,
your
like,
Father Abraham.
Yeah.
Dombolo, oh, big shout out. Sorry.
Yeah. So when there was, they've been undercounted in census, they've been underrepresented, you know, like when it comes to voter registration, look for a surprise from there. And that's why people are underestimating this union that Ruto has with the Somalis. Typically, the Somalis have always hedged their bets. I don't know whether they're going to do that this time. They've always hedged their bets. They always have people on both sides, for the most part. But this time, I think Ruto has worked really hard to try to throw everything at them to make sure that he secures their vote 100%. But
And I think the issue will still, like what Mika said, I think the issue is that the poison, that chalice, your chalice, you know, it's just like, you know, Babu, you know, he's good. Like, you need that shooting.
yeah,
That shooting.
yeah,
You know, he can teach, he can come out and there's a measure. But iyo too.
no, but there's a lot of MPs who've shot people and they still won their seats.
Yeah, no, I'm not, that was one. We say ni Didmas.
Baraza.
Yeah, Baraza killed somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
There was a time even Kafogo was being accused of...
Didmas was allegedly seen. Sindio.
Yeah.
Footage ya nani iko.
Okoth Bado. Governor Okoth Bado.
Yes.
Yeah. So
again, but you see, like now they're not, it's for Kabogo, it is that one still even to this day.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter what he says. Kuna hiyo.
It always comes up.
It always comes up.
Yeah.
Unaona? Okoth Obado hata akienda kuimba nyimbo za Kristo na nini still comes up. Didmas si hata akiingia huko Twitter analimwa na hiyo.
Yeah.
Unaget? So again,
2027 will be an interesting year. Yeah. Na sijui sasa, you know, like what's gonna happen, especially with the diaspora, because diaspora pia tuko na tabia moja where we talk so much, and then ikifika time of registration, someone wants an app to register.
But also,
someone wants
bedroom. They want to be able to
be able to vote while they're in their bedroom.
But also,
why can't they be given that opportunity?
Are we gonna be Stuliwad and given 2 weeks to register?
We may not be given any at all. That's what the reality of what we should realize. Sikwa Ubaya. I think 2 weeks is being nice, but I don't think we're gonna be given the type of time that is necessary. And if we still have the same attitude of bring it to my bedroom, people are not gonna vote.
Yeah, no, I know. You hapo bring it to my bedroom, iyo itabaki bado, because there are so many people who will talk, and then they're gonna ask questions. Why can't we vote online? Even up at US, you cannot vote online. Even in the US.
But you know, Ali, we can't, you know, you're right. We can't say that. But unaona sasa watu watasema, kwa sababu sisi tuko wengi Texas, mbona isiletwe mahali Texas pale tunaweza enda? Ama juu tuko wengi California, ama tuko sijui wapi, mbona tusiletewe? Na kumbuka watu wa Mexico, in order for them to do it, they have to come into the US and pick one of the 3 stations in order for them to actually register as well as vote, because there is no Kenyan embassy in Mexico.
In Mexico, yeah.
So, and Canada pia ikona issues zake at the same token, you know? So, people it's going to be very interesting, for lack of a better word, you know? I think we as diaspora, to be honest, we just have to say, how bad do you want it? Go wherever you need to go to get this thing to register. Literally, if registration is open for you to go to register to vote, then you can go register to vote even if you happen to be in Kenya. And then you can come here to the US and change your vote, your station from Kenya to here. We saw people who are doing it the first time around. It is possible to do it. But in all honesty, if you happen to be in Kenya, because Ali, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't registration open all through except at the time of voting?
Registration,
when
yes.
You're in Kenya.
Yes, in every constituency, there's a place you can
Correct.
go and find registration. What I don't know is if you can go and register to vote in the diaspora in a constituency in Kenya. I don't think you can do that.
No. You cannot. Okay. Remember, Ali, when we, even like in DC and they had three registration. What did they call them? Precincts? Or what did they call it? There were three.
I think they were kind of like words. I don't know whether it's a stream for voting. There's a minimum number. I think it's 600.
I think it's 300 or 200 or something.
I can't remember the number.
And then, so the DC embassy itself had, I think, 3 or 2, something like that. However, you go to Kenya, you register to vote. Hata kama ni Makadara. Ukirudi humu, sazila watu wanasema, okay, sasa now come to vote, or sijui, we are here. You now come to change your vote from Makadara to diaspora. Then you're going to have to come back to vote. You know? Now, I'm saying all of this, assuming you happen to be in Kenya. If you don't want to wait to that thing of being caught, then worst case scenario, utapanda tu ndege uende Kenya, you vote. Because you know what time it is, it's August.
Yeah.
Utapanda tu uende. Because saa zingine, at a certain point, we as diasporans have to just say, kama mbaya ni mbaya. And Ali, you saw what we went through in order to vote. Even the time when the Kenyan passports came out, the East African Kenyan passports came out, the time when they were doing the Huduma number, the time when we've had to deal with some, I'd say, stupid decisions for things that are document-oriented or related. And I can only imagine if you live outside, close proximity to and I'm saying close proximity within an hour of the embassy, because even parking at the embassy itself is a problem. So we have so many hurdles, and they throw those things at us, and they're done on purpose. And for those of us who have seen these things since day one, we understand why they are playing this game. Because it's not like they really want you people to register. And we are playing into their arms when they've opened up the registration for 2 weeks and 250 people registered.
Yeah, and people don't
or 300. And the whole entire US, it was 700
and
people.
And then they will say, they announce it on their social media page. That's what they will say. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, like people go to that social media page to see what's happening. So this is, we're in a very delicate situation. If we don't get 2027 right, I think as diasporans, it will be that juncture.
As Kenyans in the
don't
US.
think of voting.
Yeah. But as diasporans, that's the point. If we don't get 2027 right, as diasporans, is that where people will have to make a decision? Unajua kuna countries ingine, like if you have friends from maybe countries like Cameroon, someone will easily tell you, I've not been in my country for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very hard to hear that from a Kenyan, unless sans papier. Unless hana hizo magartas.
And these days, Ali, people have no problem with traveling to go home and connect with home. You know, and guys are no longer afraid. People will go, watatafuta, watasakanya, wakipata mapepa, mtu will sacrifice, atapanda ndege, aende home.
But you know,
so
that's not
trying to connect.
But you know, that's not accurate for all African countries. If you have a friend from,
correct,
you know, like, it's so easy for someone to tell you that Miss Jakwa home. In fact, there was a Cameroonian friend who was telling me, you Kenyans, you guys are always going back home. Weren't you just home last year?
Last year, yes.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's home.
I go every year.
It's like, why do you go So I was asking him, why don't you go? So it was weird to them.
They have issues, Ali. Like a place like Cameroon, unajua, they have internal strife that's going on, and it's at a religious level. Na kuna vitu nyingi sana zinafanyika that are not coming outside the walls of Cameroon. But when you talk to people who are in neighboring countries of Cameroon, especially Wazairwa, the ones who are, you know, there's a lot of Cameroonians who basically have become Zairwas and have claimed Zairwa DRC. When I say Zairwa, they have claimed DRC citizenship and then end up in Kenya as DRC folks, but they originally watu wa Cameroon, because border ndio hii iko hapa tu. na hawataki kuenda ile side ya West Africa because they want to be disassociated with the West African bloc. They really want to be associated with Central Africa. So ndio wanakuja hapa DRC, and they're strictly dealing with DRC because DRC is a more friendly passport to carry and to meander and move with than kupata passport ya, let's say umevuka umeenda Ghana, Nigeria, or any one of those other ninis. It's harder for you to immigrate, as you can see even now with the immigration as it is in America. So there's a lot of things that are happening with Cameroon in particular, and a lot of them are political issues that they themselves are either refugees or they can't go back, or kuna kakitu wakirudi pengine kuna vitu za mafamilia, itabidu bebane na panga, so they have issues that are big, and so they don't understand how us guys are doing. Yes.
And also to add on to what Omoshi is saying, let me tell you, you'd expect a country like Nigeria to have an airline like KQ. Hawana. Traveling for them to West Africa, when a ticket is costing us 1,500, theirs is 25 to 3,000. And when ours is 2,000, theirs is 4,000.
I was shocked to find out that there are people who connect to Kenya to go back to Nigeria.
Yes.
And other West African countries.
Or Ethiopian Airlines.
West African countries.
So you come all the way to East Africa.
Yes.
Only to go back to.
Yes. My last trip, when coming back, because I took Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Ethiopian will take you to Mombasa.
Yes.
So you have people flying. When we chomoka Mombasa, tukaingia Bole. Bole huko Chrome. Because Nigerians were a lot. They were coming in from wherever in Nigeria. And by the way, yes. So I sat next to this lady, and she was telling me that in order for her to go to Enugu State, where she's from, she would have to do a layover in Abuja, then take a 45-minute flight.
Wow.
All that was costing a lot of money. When Ethiopia came and had direct flights from Ethiopia to Enugu, she has been taking that route for over 10 years.
So wait, so Ethiopia now is flying to Enugu?
Yes.
Not. I know they go to Abuja, but now they're
opened.
going.
It has opened.
Wow. Okay.
Ethiopian wamefungua. Ethiopia wamefungua. You will find a lot of Nigerians will be flying the Ethiopian flight from here IAD.
Okay. That is interesting.
IAD, because on top of that, those flights are cheap. They are very affordable.
They're affordable, yes.
Yes. The plane itself is one thing in Inganya, lakini unafika.
Yeah.
Yes.
Surely. One mic, surely. Umeongea hivyo na hao watu wamepewa mawadi.
Wanasema hiyo ndio original cattle class.
Right? So it's
kuna mtu anasema cattle class nilicheka ni okay.
So those guys have done, Ethiopia have done, they have opened up. Well, ukisikia they have opened up to Malawi.
Yes.
Malawi. I'm talking about Malawi.
Malawi,
so
I know
Ethiopian Airlines has opened up the continent.
And you know the way the free air transport agreement, the one that AU has, the way it's supposed to operate, there's some countries that are fighting it. Africa is going to be like the US. Like an airline can come from any country and go to any other country. Right now, like Ethiopian, the flight either has to be from Addis or going to Addis or leaving Addis. Mm-hmm. It cannot fly like from Abuja to
Cote
D'Ivoire.
There are a lot of places. There are so many places in Africa. You have to connect through Europe.
Yes. Especially West Africa. Especially West Africa.
Yeah, that's the agreements they have with the routes. Yes, they're
West Africa, the route,
yes.
like
the routing.
Flight in Europe in Africa is one of the hardest things. Like basically, flying within Africa is expensive than flying to America.
Correct. It's very expensive.
In fact, we are very fortunate in East Africa that we have multiple airlines that people can use to fly locally.
There's KLM. Oh, you're talking about local?
No, I'm talking about local.
Yeah.
I'm talking about local. You know, like even within Kenya, I mean, of course, you have KQ locally. Then you have Jumbo Jet. You have there's a lot of other smaller airlines.
Renegade, Fly 540.
Yes.
Ziko nyingi.
Yeah. So
and even within East Africa, there's KQ, there's Rwanda, and there's Air Tanzania.
There's Precision Air too.
And Precision, yeah. So you have a lot of interconnecting flights.
Yeah, and that's the reason
why. By the way, is East African Airways still there? I think it was there up to some time, right? Ama ilianguka. No.
Wewe ulikuwa live kama East African Airways.
Hapana, no. When I say hapana, Ali, Mika, East African Airways ile naongea ni ilikuwa na fly the same time 540 ilikuja. See East African ingine, it's like, what was that? Am I calling it a different thing?
Maybe there was a different thing.
What? Okay. Airline ili
unajua Kenya kuna Kenya kuna airline mingi za Somali kama tu basi.
Na pia hizi zinaenda Sudan, hizi za kwenda Juja, ziko nyingi.
Za kwenda Juba
za Somalia.
Yeah, so we have to be very how do I put it? We have to be very grateful, you know, like to have been born in Kenya, because wetembea nchi zingine Afrika ndo utakuja kujua. Me, in fact, one goal that I have within the next 5 years, I want to visit at the bare minimum at least 10 different African countries, because we do not travel within Africa.
20.
20 years, that's a high goal.
Ka index fund katalimo.
That's a high goal.
You have
African countries.
Mika akona points. Mika akona points. He can share them.
No, African countries. Unaona kwanza place kama South Africa. South Africa is kind of like a mixed bag. Nataka kukiwa na sevens huko next year. I want to plan and go there.
South Africa for you is easy, Ali. If you have an East African passport, I don't need visa. Unaenda tu. So it's easy for you. You know the hard thing about travel in Africa, apart from the flights, is visas.
Yeah.
Yes, it's becoming very sad and hard. Yes.
It's visas. So hiyo ndio itakusumbua. Like,
but sasa, are you traveling as a Kenyan or are you traveling as an American?
Yeah, in some cases it doesn't matter. In some cases it doesn't matter.
There's some cases where your American passport can help you, pengine itakusaidia. But still, all in all, you'll have to plan that trip. Like there's some countries you'll have to plan from America as an American. Ukienda ukizihit kama American, utakuwa passport bro.
Yeah.
Ukichapa pa. Okay, alafu kuna zingine zenye hiyo ya komesa East African, ukienda East African, Central African, Southern African block, passport yako itakusaidia.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So kuna ile trip utapanga kutoka Nairobi na kuna trip utapangia kutoka DC. Ndio uchape hizo countries zako 20.
Hiyo hapo tutajua. Ama tufanye kama vile Wanjeria na chapa road trip. Anaenda sijui how many countries.
Sasa unajua Ali, your road trip, the thing that is what Mika brought up, which he didn't say, is hapo kwa road trip, the time you spend at the border kuvuka, hapo ndio pali udashika dabu yako.
Yeah, na hiyo time ndio sina.
Hapo kwa road trip unapata kitu namba kufanya, watu wengi hawajaga kufika. Watu wengi kifika ni road trip wanataka walale, waamke jua na wako wa drive sasa na msafara. No. Ukipiga hizi inter-country road trip, mna Mkangwari. Mnafika border, sasa zile ndo wameamka.
It's dusk. Okay.
You know.
So nyinyi mnatoka Nairobi 4. Unaona nini mnatoka Nairobi 4?
Yeah.
Mnafika Lunga saa 2 asubuhi. mnachapa hiyo 6 zote, mnaichapa hiyo na hiyo giza yote mkienda like mnamtoka 3 hapo 3-4 mnapiga na giza. Like mkifika hapo kwa boda ndo wamefunga ofisi, ndo watu wameanza kuchangamka, amkutani na trafiki ya matruck sijui ya nini, mnapita mnaenda. Hiyo siku mnapumzika mna drive half the day, mnafika labda tuseme da, mna chill dash kukaa 2 siku ile, mnatoka Dar tena mnatoka Ngware asubuhi Ngware. By the time mnachapa like like basically mnajua pale kuna points, road checks nini place, mna hit points zenu, mna try kuzihit before a shower hiyo place ifike. Watu wengi utakati tulale tuamke tutoke saa 4 saa 5 utoke na normal traffic,
tuende tutafute restaurant.
Life juu unapiga road trip bana, life juu unapiga road trip, life inaendelea pale, watu wanaendelea na maisha yao.
No, pali,
so utagangana na stress yao.
Pali mimi ningependa, you know, like I'd love to be in a random African country, you know, like Zambia. Yani just, you know, that's an experience that I've never really had. Just in a random place where you are the foreigner. Na watu wakujue ni nani. Nione tu vile kutaenda.
Alafu vigo wanza kusema, excuse me, mjukuu wa Masai?
No, that can never happen.
Atawapata kwanza, they'll be speaking to him in Swahili.
No, that can never happen in certain
Zambia.
Unaona countries kama Zambia, but Zambia there are some Swahili speakers.
Yes, they have them.
Yeah, Zambia they do have. They share a border with Tanzania.
Shona, but they have them.
Yeah, they do share a border with Tanzania. Malawi too has quite a number of Swahili speakers. Yeah, but hizo countries, those are the places that I would like to go. You know, niende tu randomly, nikachil tu mahali, and I think once that African travel starts opening up, I think we're gonna be more friendlier to each other than we are.
I think even in addition to being more friendlier, we will probably just be more open to, you know, learning about others. Because, you know, the only time we learn about others is mchongo wano.
Yeah. No,
that's the only other time we career. We know we don't take the time to learn, you know. Maybe here we'll be given a history lesson, you know, by Mika. We'll be given something, we'll learn about something, we'll come, we'll demarcate somebody. But other than that, you know, maybe we'll learn about Julius Nyerere, but, you know, all we'll learn is about Idi Amin and what he did, the Madhagodanya that he did.
Yeah.
Right? It's in essence, you opening up the borders allows you to learn. You can imagine how to Europe. You remember when Jerry was here?
Yeah.
The rugby fan.
Yeah.
How at one point it's like she got a visa or whatever, Schengen or whatever it is, and then she just went traveling.
Traveling by train.
By train.
Yeah.
You know, you're going, you're experiencing different people, cultures, foods, whatever. You can imagine, like,
you know the ignorance that's there in Africa. Unakumbuka that time when kulikuwa na ile reality show ile ya Diamond. I can't remember what it was called. I don't know, Young Famous Rich African, something like that.
Young Rich and African.
Yeah, you're Young Rich and African. Me, I think first of all,
Young Famous and African. Walitoa hiyo Rich.
Okay.
Walionabo kwa Rich walikuwa rich.
Walikuwa na rich. No, there was that chick who was Diamond walikuwa nakatiana na Diamond. And I don't know whether it was... Yeah. No, hapana. No, ni huyo rapper. You know, like ule mwenye alikuwa...
Ule rapper ule Atlanta, ule alikuwa country gani? Alikuwa rapper, but...
She's from a West African country.
Atlanta.
She's from a West African country. Ghana.
Yeah.
You know, there was something that she said, and I was like, I hope they're just doing this for the show. Alikuwa anasema ati she's never heard of a country called Malawi. And I'm like... Okay, this is good. Even if they're just doing it for the show, and I think maybe she really had never heard of a country called Malawi.
I would not be surprised.
I
would not be surprised, my brother.
Alitoka Ghana gani mtu huyu akaenda kusomea Atlanta. Huko Atlanta nani alifundisha juu ya Malawi?
No, lakini come on. Unajua hata kama sijaenda Eastern Europe, I know there's a country called Latvia. At least
Ali, you have to give.
Kitu moja unafaa kuangalia ni education systems za different countries. In America history, they only teach American history. And that even that
Correct.
American history, they warp it up. Wanafundisha a certain aspect of it. And remember, most people get their knowledge of things on education. Alafu, huyu pia ni mtu mwenye ajareiziwa kama jenzi wa sahi, like kuna internet, anaweza ingia TikTok, anaweza ingia app gani, one vitu zenye akwa ajaiona kwa maisha yake. Hiyo age yake ni mtu aliget internet, let's say kama yuko in their teens.
You know, there was an episode niliwatch Amazing Race, very amazing show to watch. There was a season I watched where the guys were taken to Accra. So now one of the challenges to go to the next stage of where they were was they were in a primary school, and then there were kids. The kids were showing them a map of Africa that has all the countries, and they were telling them, point the country that you're in right now.
There you go.
Now imagine you travel to that country. You've not even bothered to find out where it is on the map. Do you know people are pointing all the way to the east?
Yes.
And I'm like...
Also understand, I have met people who, the last way from Kenya, is that in the west?
No, but you've traveled to that country.
I get it.
Angalia, you up at least you can... you've traveled to that... Umeingia ndege.
Umeenda huko.
Umeenda huko. And you still cannot identify where it is on a map.
Again, Mika said something that was very important. There are very many people, very many Americans, some of them even Chinese, some of them even Asian. They have never heard of the Chinese Exclusion Act, ever.
No, your Chinese Exclusion Act.
Not many.
No, but I can understand what wahawasomi. You unless kama ni mtu wa kusoma, you hear about
and
it.
That goes, and then that goes back to what Mika was saying in terms of what is taught. Because even the history they teach here is not. They're banning books.
Yeah.
Yeah.